All right, we're talking Crestwood Boys Lacrosse here at the John Mendola Show at McCarthy Tire. Let's talk about a district championship. Always a good feeling, right?
It's always a good feeling, yeah. It's been a few years since we've been able to come back and actually capture the title. It's been a lot of work for these guys. This is a group that I've had together since they were in youth, so it's nice to kind of see it go full circle by the time we got here.
Competition is fierce, so talk a little bit about some of those games, trying to step outside the district, get some of those games under your belt, so then you're ready for when that district championship comes up.
Yeah, that's right. I think we try to do our best at planning our schedule, around the non-conference games to try to make sure we push ourselves. We've talked to the boys at the beginning of the season. We knew put a couple of games on our roster or on our schedule that were going to be very challenging, almost like programming in some potential losses, because it's the only way to kind of see where you're at. You got to test your potential, make sure the boys are able to step up to the competition, and the whole goal being to be as strong as you possibly can by the time we get to districts. And I think we did a pretty good job of that this year.
You guys in the mountaintop area have done a tremendous job with developing lacrosse. It's continues to develop, but talk a little bit about just kind of kids getting exposed at a young age, and that's still developing there, and we're seeing some players do some good things.
It is. We've been very fortunate. The assistant coaches that I have on staff, Craig Coslet, Mike Schluty, they're both heavily involved in the youth program. Mike is the president of the youth league. They both organize club teams during the summertime to get the kids playing if they want other opportunities. But I think you can see that in the other teams that are actually getting much better within the district. Abington Heights is a perfect example of an organization that's put a tremendous amount of effort into their youth program in the last 3 years. They're one of the newer programs in the district from a high school standpoint, and here they are for the last 2 years being in the top four, making it to the semifinal round. Certainly pushed us to a challenge in our semifinal game. So one great example, Delaware Valley, of course, having a great youth program. Scranton Prep working off of the Scranton Youth Lacrosse program. So having a feeder system like that where all of that effort goes into the youth is the reason why a lot of the teams that are competing for the championship right now are as good as they are.
And if my memory serves me correctly, Jeff Krasolski is originally from Nanticoke, didn't play lacrosse, but out of Delaware Valley, he's done a really nice job out there.
An amazing job, yeah. He's a coach he's a little bit longer tenured than I am. He's been around since lacrosse really started in high school sports, and to go that long and have that much success says a lot about him and the coaching staff and the program that he's developing. He brings in a lot of players, obviously, from their feeder system, but there's several players that started playing the game as freshmen. And, with the skill of learning how to pass and catch and to develop a program like that, says a lot about what he does with that high school program out in Delaware Valley.
Scranton Prep has kind of established themselves as a team that's pretty darn good. So talk about going against them and beating them in the district championship.
Yeah, Coach Toolin and his staff do an amazing job of planning, developing. They've got they've got a lot of kids that are coming out for the team. I think their program comes with 40 or 50 guys that come out in the beginning of the season. So being able to manage all of those players and all of those athletes is certainly a challenge. And as you can see, the last 2-3 years, Scranton Prep has really just been at the top of the system, top of the food chain. So once again, it's all of us pushing each other to try to get better. And I think if you look back at some film from 10 years ago, the game is looking a lot different now than it did then. When we go against teams that are outside the district, we're giving them good quality games. It's good competition, whereas 8-9 years ago it was tough. Once we stepped outside the district, we were kind of getting ourselves beat around a little bit. But the district has kind of come on the state map now, and that's just a matter of all of us pushing one another to get better and better.
Let's talk about this Crestwood team, and let's start from the defensive part. And you gotta have somebody who's not afraid to see a ball flying at them at whatever miles an hour a lacrosse ball goes. It's pretty fast.
It is, yeah. The ball comes in pretty quickly, and we try to start all of our players from a youth level as all being defenders first. When the other team gets the ball, our offensive players become defensive players immediately. So we try to develop defensive skills in our kids. We say once you're able to play defense, we'll let you try to play offense. But our goal on defense is to try to get the goalie to see the shots that he's going to be comfortable saving. Try to keep those shots from the outside as opposed to the inside, so they're a little bit more, easier shots to save. But it's a unit. The goalie being the quarterback of the unit, working with those the long pole defenders and the short sticks up front. It's a matter of all them communicating constantly and making sure that we're taking away the area of the field that we want to take away, understanding where their shooters are coming from, and the defense trying to keep the most savable shots on goal that they can. I think that was a good part of the reason why we had some success against Scranton Prep. Ethan had a really good day in goal. However, the defense was able to give him shots that he knew that he was going to have a chance at.
So that's your son in goal, right?
It is, yes.
And let's build out from there. So Ethan Zabroski in goal. Take us through some of those defenders. Who are those other players that are doing the job, and what their qualities, their skill set is there for Crestwood?
Yep, the skill set. I'm going to start from top to bottom. We put a lot of pride in developing short stick defenders. Brady Davidson, who's going to be talking to you shortly, is one of those. Colin Lazo being the other one. Very athletic, able to help us on our clears, making sure they're taking away the top side of the field when the Dodgers are coming down from the top side, and pushing everything to the outside. Brady's been playing since he was a youth player. Colin started playing in high school. Brady's experience and communication, and outside of Ethan communicating from the back, Brady takes charge from the front. And it's just his experience and his leadership that helps to kind of keep the unit together. Then we have Jacob Jekyll, who's a sophomore, who's a long stick midfielder. He's developed into quite a young lacrosse player. I think he's going to be, the staple of our defense moving forward. His ability to not only play one-on-one defense, but also scoop up ground balls. He's excellent on transition. He's athletic. He understands the game, has a high IQ. And again, he's part of that defensive unit. And then down low, Josh DeMarzo, Jack Warsinski. Again, long poles. Jack used to play in youth, didn't play at all in high school, came back as a senior this year. And he's been very athletic. He's strong, put a lot of work into the weight room. So he's had some confidence, that to be able to just step on the field as a senior and be a big part of our defense.
We just don't know what way a lacrosse game's going to go. We see a 12-11, we'll see a 13-8, different type of scores, but you got to be able to score. So let's talk about some of the scores this year for Crestwood.
Yeah, we've been what we've felt has been a very strong point of our offense is that it's not sitting on one or two players' shoulders. I think when you look from game to game, you'll see some different scoring coming from some different players. Jack Augustine, Kevin Schluty down low, Gianni Piccolotti has been playing our attack, and they moved from midfield to attack this year. But they've got a nice system where if one person is pulling the strong defenders, we're able to score from other sides of the field, which makes us a tough team to scout and usually a tough team to defend.
We talk about, the next step. It's usually brutal, the first game in states, but talk a little bit about, hey, we're going to give this a shot, and, what district are you guys going to face?
Yep, we're going to see District 3, the runner-up. They're going to play their championship this coming week. From a preparation standpoint, I think we just always fall back on our fundamentals. As we go through practices, make sure we're doing the fundamentals right, because if you're not doing those right, you can't really build off of anything. And I think, though we're playing a team from outside of our area in District 3, I think we go back to the way we scheduled our non-conference games this year. We played Mars in the first game of the season out of Pittsburgh, played Blair Academy, we played Minnesink out of New York. So the boys are used to playing teams that they've never heard of, never seen before. And I think that takes a little bit of the anxiety out of the game because they've known they've played some of the best teams in the state already. So this is just another challenging game for us, one that we're going to have to, come together as a unit and basically just try to keep that effort level up, never feel like we're out of the fight.
Well, I know you're all in with lacrosse, doing a great job there. Congratulations on a district championship.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mendola.